I've already started recording. So now what we have done yesterday is we have combined the columns with the same column names, right? Exactly similar to this, I can combine the data of different column names also. That is also possible. But of course, usually what have is we have hardly one or two columns which are not matching. Usually we have some columns matching, some columns not matching. So in that case, what happens, what is the behavior is what we'll see now. So let me connect to this sheet. So this is my A table, this is my B table. Let me click on transform. Okay. Yeah. So let's say you have table B here, which has these two columns, C underscore ID and name. And in here, I have second table A, which has ID underscore name. As you can clearly see here, there is only one column which is matching, which is name. And here we have ID column, and here we have C underscore ID column. So can you combine the data of these two tables? Of course you can combine it, but in this case of difference of column, the behavior would be different. For example, in this case, name and name is same, so automatically it will pick up the data from this name column of table B, and it will put it in the name column. However, in case of ID, since there is no ID column in table B, it will put none. And since in the B column I have C underscore ID, so it will create a new column called as C underscore ID, which will have value for table B, but it will not have value for table A. Okay, let me show you that. So I will click on append queries, and from here I select append queries. And in here I can specify which table I want to combine. So I have selected A, I'll say I'll select table B. I click on OK. Okay, so as you can clearly see, when you appended and you had two different columns, in that case, it has appended the data still row wise. You can see rows of table 1 plus rows of table B. Okay, and in this case, you can see the ID column is showing null for these rows because these rows are coming from table B. And similar to this, here you can see the value for table B. But since these rows, the first rows, 9 rows, they are coming from table A, that's why you see the value as null. Okay, so usually when you have the difference of column, then you will see null values in that extra column. Clear with this? That is why I said this append operation which happens, it usually happens row wise. Okay, not the column wise. Clear with this? Anyone has any questions on this? Remember this, if you have extra column, then in that case, wherever the value is present, it will show the value. Okay, and after that, what it will do is, wherever the value is not present, it will show you null. Clear? Now, this was combining two tables. Okay, combining two tables is fine. And now, in case of combining two tables, you had only two files, you loaded the two files, you loaded the two tables, and then you combined it, right? But let's say I have 15 files, I have 16 files, I have 20 files, or let's say I get files regularly and I have to load those files every day. Okay, and I have to combine the data, I have to load the newly loaded data. So in that case, loading one file is not at all possible, because in this case, if I have 25 files, I'll have to go to get data or new source, I'll have to select Excel or CSV, whatever that is, and I have to do that activity 20 times. Once I'm done with that 20 times activity, then only I will be able to combine the data or append the data using the append operation. Okay, that's the longer way of doing this thing. But let's say if I want to combine 20 files data into one table, I have another option. So that option is called as this combined files. Okay. So with the help of combined files, I can combine multiple tables in one go. Okay. So for that, let me create one folder. So I'll go to Power BI. I'll go to my data set. Here I'll create one folder. Yeah. So here I create the folder which is called as demo folder. Okay. Now in order to load the files, I'll put the files inside this and I'll load the files from here. So let me take the folder from here, this demo folder, and from here let me copy two files. So I'll just cut the files from here and I will put the files in this. Okay. So now instead of loading one file at a time, I will load this entire folder. So what it will do is it will load all these files in one go. Okay. So for that, I'll have to select the folder connector. So in Power BI, you have a folder connector with the help of which you can directly connect to a folder. So for that, click on new source and click on more. Okay, there we will see an option called as folder, to which you have to provide the path. Once you provide the path of the folder, it will scan that path and it will get all the files that are present within that folder. Okay. Okay, so let me select the folder from here. This is my folder. I click on connect. Now in here, I specify the path of the folder which I've just created. Now this folder, you know, it has two files, transaction 1 and transaction 2. You already know the content of transaction 1 and transaction 2, right? So they have the content. They have transaction ID, customer ID, amount, and other things. Okay. Now, if you see here in the preview section, or I would say in this section, it is showing you that this is the folder that you want to load. And these are the details. So these details are very much similar to what you see here. Name, date modified, type, size. And if I show you here, you can see name, extension, date access, date modified, date created, attributes, folder path. All this information is present here. Okay, so these are the information that is present here. So let's say I want to click on transform data button. So when I click on transform data button, the folder contents are loaded in the form of table here. And now this is my folder. So within this folder, I have transaction1.csv, transaction2.csv. Now let's say if I want to see the content of transaction1.csv, then I can click on this binary here. So when you click on this binary, it will expand the transaction1.csv and it will show you the content. So as of now in transaction1.csv, I have transaction date, customer ID, transaction ID, and amount, and total number of rows are 150. Similar to this, I'll delete these steps and I'll go back to my source step. This is how the table was looking like. Similar to this, if you want to see the content of transaction2.csv, you can click on this binary. You can see this table has 134 rows, so 150 plus 134 approximately 284 rows is what we have. Now in here, I'll click on this, I'll combine. Yep, done. So this is how you can verify the content of your first file, content of second file, in fact, content of any file by clicking on this. Now, let's say you feel that contents are proper. Now you want to combine these two files. So to combine this, you can do that option from here. This thing will become enabled only when you select the content column. Otherwise, this will not become enabled. So for that, you have to select this, or the other way is by directly clicking here. So when you click on this combine files, it will give you a pop-up, okay, to select the first file or the file based on which you want to combine the data. Okay, so in here I'll keep the default settings as transaction1.csv. Apart from that, here you see one more checkbox which is called a skip file with error. So if your file has error and if you don't want to load that file or if you don't want to combine that file, then you can do that with the help of this skip file with error option. Okay, for now I will just keep it as is and I will click on OK. So when I click on OK, the content of transaction1.csv file and content of transaction2.csv file would be combined. Okay, of course you'll get one more column which is the source. So source basically contains the file name of the specific row. So from which file it is coming, it is actually stored in this source document. Clear with this? Any questions? If you can see, the output is very similar to your append, except that in case of append, the source.name column was not present. The rest of the columns were like this only. So you got the output as 284 rows. Everyone clear so far? Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
We have created the connection only for two files, transaction 1 and transaction 2. Now, say for example, I have updated my folder, transaction up to transaction 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with these 6 files. Will it get append in the Power BI also?
Yes, that's what I'm going to show you in the next.
Yeah.
I was
And
just checking if everybody is clear till this part.
Also, one more question. So, will it get refresh automatically, or we need to have
Manual
refresh?
refresh. Manual refresh.
Manual refresh. So, can we automate this refresh thing in Power BI desktop version?
In desktop you cannot. In service you can. In Power BI service you can automate.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Praful, one file extension is CSV and another file extension is XML, XLS. So it's possible.
Yeah, if the table contents are similar, then it can combine it. It can combine
Okay.
it. Shouldn't be an issue. Okay. Yeah, but usually the file extension is similar. Okay. I'll tell you one specific use case. Usually when we work in organization, we get files generated from some source, maybe on a daily frequency, on a weekly frequency, like that. The file format and the columns usually are the same. What we usually do is we have to manually open it, copy the contents and paste it in the new file or in the combined files. That's what we have to do. So for such cases, we can use this get folder option. Okay. Anyways, moving on. So I'll just click on this file.
Full.
Yeah.
I have a question. How many files we can get? What is the maximum number of files?
Practically, there is no limit on this, and honestly, I haven't tested it, but yeah, 1,500 files shouldn't be an issue. Okay, it's a folder. Okay, I'll show you with 20 files. Okay, but it works there. Okay. Any more questions here? Okay, moving on. Now what I will do is I will click on this file and I will click on close and apply. So when I click on this close and apply, the table would be loaded into your Power BI desktop. Okay, so A and B of course are loaded and the demo table also. Yeah. So when you see the data tab, you should see the data. So in the data tab, when I click on this demo folder, I see the data. So we have 2 files loaded and the total number of rows are 284. Okay, this is the count which is displayed. Now let's say more files are generated and all those files are present there. So let's say I have 23 files which are generated just now, and I want to load the data from these 23 files also. So answer is simple, just paste it here and go to your table, and like we did it in append query, just right click on the table and click on refresh data. So when you refresh it, what happens is the data gets updated. So in this case, you didn't have to load the 23 files individually. All the 23 files data was automatically combined since it was present already in the existing folder. Clear with this? I hope this answers your question also, Shreya, right? This was the question.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this is the manual refresh option that you have to do. If you want to refresh all the tables present in your Power BI desktop, then you can click on this refresh. So it will refresh all the tables that are present within your report. So to save time, you should ideally refresh only the table that you want to refresh. Okay, this is the option. Clear with this? Any questions, anyone? Okay, moving on. Now, this was easy. We had only CSV file. We wanted to load the CSV file from folder. We loaded the files and it worked. But sometimes that's not the case. A folder can have multiple files of different extensions also. So I should be able to load the files which I need. For example, let's say I have this log file. I don't want to load this log file. Exactly similar to this, I have this P6 euro debit crisis.csv file. This is also present, let's say, in my folder, but I don't want to load these files. So can I do it? Yes, of course you can do it. Okay, so these are the three files that I have copied. So I don't want to load these three files into my source. So for that, I can go to transform data again. Okay, so I have combined the data in the demo folder. So I'll delete the steps and I'll go all the way till source. Okay, so I'll click here, I'll delete these steps and I'll go to my source. Now my source is showing the old data. So for that, let me refresh it. So I'll just click on refresh all here. Yeah. So now these are the list of files that are present. So in here also, if I check, I have 28 files. Here also I have 28 rows in my Power Query. Yeah. So in this case, what you want to do is from this folder, you have these many files. You don't want to load all the files. What you actually want to do is you want to skip the linux.log file, which you see in the end. Plus, you don't want to load the P6 euro debit crisis.csv file, which is of different extension. Okay, these are the two things that you want to do before combining the content of the file. So to do that, what you can do is you can apply the filter. So either you apply a filter on the name or you apply the filter on the extension, any column, just get rid of these three files. If you can get rid of these three files by some filter, then you can combine the rest of the data and load it into your Power BI desktop. So for doing that, let me do one thing. So since this is a log extension, so .log is present here and this is quite unique. So I'll apply a filter on the extension. I will say only load the CSV files, don't load the log files. So when I add this, you can see a filtered rows condition is added here, and now you can see only the CSV files here. Okay, similar to this, I can apply the filter on this name also. So I can just uncheck these boxes from here and my file P6 will not be loaded into this. But if I have two files here and let's say a third file comes here, so I want that file should also be not loaded. So I can write a pattern for this also. For example, in these two cases, the file name usually starts with P6. So let's say I don't want to load any file that starts with P6. Then in that case, I can add the text filter here. I can click and I can say, I can add the conditions like equal to, does not equal to, begins, does not begins, ends, does not ends, contains, does not contains. What I'll say is, I do not want to load any file that does not begin with P6. Okay, so let me select this, and from here I change the condition to does not begin and I say P6. So I don't want to load P6 files, so I have specified load all the files which do not begin with P6. So when I applied the negate condition, only P6 files are removed, the rest of the files are still here. So these are the files that I want to combine. Now you can click on this option, you can perform the rest of the steps like you did in the previous case. Any questions here? So like this, you can selectively filter and you can load the contents also. Clear? Anyone? Any questions? So this is the type of thing that they can ask you in interview. Like if your folder has Excel files, you want to only load the Excel files. What are the options? How you can load only? How you can combine the Excel file only or CSV file only? Like those types of questions they usually ask. Another important question that is asked from this is usually in case of folder, we have one more scenario. Let's say I have a folder where I put my file. So every day, daily, automatically a file is generated and I put that file in the folder. So in this case, I don't want to load all the files that are present in the folder. What I want to do is I only want to load the file which is latest, which is the latest file from that folder. Okay. So if I want to load that file, I can do that also. So for that, you have one date created column here. So in the date created column, you can apply the filter. Based on that, what it can do is it can load the latest file. So all you have to do is you have to just go to this date created column, select the date time filter, and from here you can select the different filters like equal, before, after, between, in the next, in the previous. And in my case, or in fact in everybody's case, what we usually want to do is we only want to load the latest file. So if you want to load the latest file, just select is latest from here. Is latest function will always return you one value. Okay. So in this case, you can see this is the one value which it has returned. And when I click on the content, I can get the contents and I can close and apply. So in future, if I load another file, okay, and I refresh it, and if that file is the latest file, then that file content would be loaded. Clear with this? And exactly similar to this, you can also, the interviewer can also ask you, I don't want the latest file, latest created file, but I want the latest modified files. In that case, you apply the filter on the date modified. Okay. So date modified usually contains when the file was modified. Okay. So in that case, you can say date modified is latest. So it will give you the latest updated file from there. Clear with this? Any questions? So I'll click on the OK and the file data is combined. Any questions? Anurag, Swapnil, Shreya, Rahul, Pooja, Dushant, Atul.
Yes, if we apply some transformation operation on few columns and then folder got updated with the 5 to 6 new different files. So now this transformation function will get applied to new files as well.
Yes, Shreya, because
Okay.
what happened is this was your source, right? This is the step where you got the source. Now, after that, these are the steps that you have applied. And of course, after this only you are going to add new columns, right? So when you refresh it, this complete thing is applied again. Source, filtering, then filtering the hidden files, then combining the data, and then adding the columns. Every step that we are mentioning here after refreshing it is applied to every value. So for example, if I have 2500, if I add 5 more files, and if I have added a new column here, obviously that 500, that new column that is added will generate the values for the new files also.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is how you can load multiple files at once with the help of this combined file option. Okay. Now we have seen how to load the files or how to combine the files, 2 files, 3 files with the help of append operation, append queries and append queries as new. If I have multiple files which I want to append, then the better option is through folder, which is by the combine files option. Now let's say if I want to combine the data column wise, then how can I do that? So for that I have the third option, which is called as merging. So this merge query option that you see here, okay, this is also called as join operation. Okay, so whenever I want to combine my data, okay, then in that case I can use this merge queries operation. So this merge query operation actually combines the data column wise. Okay, since we combine the data column wise, the output is always going to be a table, and in this case we will have permutations and combinations because we are trying to combine the data column wise. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's say I have this table on the left, which is called as employee, and employee table has 3 columns, EMP underscore ID, name and age. Okay. And similar to this, I have another column on the right, another table on the right, which we call it as designation underscore details. Designation underscore details table has 2 columns, EMP underscore ID and designation. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to combine the employee table and designation details table. Okay. So in short, what I want to do is I want to apply the merging. Okay. So in order to apply merging, merging is also called as joins in terms of database. In order to apply merging, always remember we should have at least one common column and the data type of that common column should be same. Okay, that is the prerequisite to do the merging or joining. In these two tables, do we have one common column?
EMP ID.
Yes, EMP underscore ID. So in this case, if I ask you this question, let's say employee table has EMP underscore ID and designation table has EMP ID as the column. Can we still do the merging?
Data type should be same for that column.
Yes, only the data type should be same. The names are different, then that is not an issue. Okay, the column data type has to be same and they should store similar value. That's the important case. Okay, if the column names are not same, the joins will still work or the merging will still work. Now when you combine the employee table and designation details table, so employee table has 3 columns, EMP ID, name and age, and designation details table has EMP ID and designation. So since you combine the two tables, your output will have columns from table columns from the left table plus columns from the right table. So how many columns I have in the left table? 3. How many columns I have on the right table? 2. So my output is going to have 5 columns. Columns from left plus columns from right. Output is always going to be like this, 5 columns. Now coming to combining the data, this was about the columns. So we combined EMP ID, name, age, EMP ID, designation. These are my 5 columns. Now the next thing that we have to do is we have to combine the data. That is why we have the merging requirement that at least one common column should be there. So what we will do is we will pick up the value from the left table. We will search it in the right table. If there is a match, then we will write that row in the output. Okay, that is how the merging will work. So let's start. So what we will do is we'll pick up this 101 value and we'll try to search it here in this EMP ID column. Okay, so in here when I try to search it, is 101 present here in this designation details table? It's there, right? So what I will do is I will write this row. So how I will write it? This is how I will write it. 101 Vijay 32 And then in this case, I'll write EMP underscore ID and designation. So 101 and junior. This is the first true matching. But is that the only combination available for 101? No, there is one more combination available in the designation details table. So in that case, 101 senior is the second combination. So the value that is coming from the left is still the same because 101 is kind of unique here. So I'll write 101 Vijay 32 again. And then instead of this row, now I'll write this row. So 101 senior. Okay. Similar to this, I'll go to the next value now, 102. So 102 is present in the right table. Yes, it is present here. So I'll write 102 Sanket 34 and 102 lead. So see here 102 Sanket 34 and 102 lead. Okay. Similarly, I'll try to search for 103. So 103 is present here. No. 105 is present here. No. Now what you see here is the output. So this is your output. And in your output, if you carefully observe, you have only matching values. And these matching values are present in both the left table as well as the right table. So this type of join that we see here is called as inner join. Okay, this is how the tables are joined with respect to columns. Any questions, guys? This is the join. One I would say one unique identifier for this type of operation is that in case of inner join, you will not see null value in any of the columns. That is one of the key identifiers which usually tells us that yes, this is the inner join that we are talking about. Clear with this? Okay, moving on. Now, this is the matching combination that you got from the two tables, left table as well as the right table. But problem with this matching combination is you are missing out on the data. How I am missing out on the data? Because this 103 employee ID is not present in your output. Similar to this 105 employee ID is also not present in your output. Okay, so usually what we say is inner join misses out on the data from the left table as well as the right table. So let's say if I want to include the data from left and the data from right, then how can I do that? Let's say if I include the data from the left. Okay, so if I include this 103 Nina and 20, this 103 Nina and 20, this is not present in the right hand side table. So if I write that table or if I write this row in my output like this, 103 Nina 20, it is not going to get any value from the right hand side table. So because of that, the EMP ID and designation columns will store null and null, because from the right hand side there is no value matching 103. Okay, so this type of join that you see where you have matching values plus you have the non-matching values from the left table, then we call that join as left outer join. This is your left outer join output. So inner join plus non-matching values from the left. Similar to this, if I want to combine or if I want to get the data from the right hand side, so this is the non-matching row from the right hand side. So if I take the non-matching data from the right hand side, I will put it here in this row 105 PM. Now this 105 PM, it is not present on the left hand side. So because of that, the left hand side columns are null, 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 null. Okay. So in this case, what we have done is we have taken the data which is matching plus the data which is not matching with the left table. So in this case, you have included the non-matching data from the right hand side. So this is called as your right outer join. And similar to this, if I include every possible combination, then in that case, I will have matching rows from both the tables, plus I will have the non-matching rows from the left table, plus I will have the non-matching rows from the right table. Okay, so this join that you see covers almost all the combinations. That is why this is also called as full outer join or full join. Okay, so this outer word is optional. So whenever someone is talking about left join, it is left outer join. Whenever someone is talking about right join, it is right outer join. Okay, so this is kind of same. Any question here, guys?
So can we highlight duplicacy value in join function?
Duplicacy value in the sense, Rahul?
If you see in a full outer join column, so they are employee name 101 and employee name is Vijay. So it's repeated. So
So you
if I
can
want,
remove it from your Power Query, no? You can remove it. Remove duplicate option is there.
okay,
Okay, but usually what happens is we do not remove it. There are likely use cases where sometimes the data comes as repetitive, right? Rahul, I'll give you an example. When you join an organization and you stay longer in that organization, does your designation remain same? It usually changes, right? You join at certain designation and after few years they promote you, then your designation changes, right? So in that case,
yeah,
assume this case as the same thing, right? So in that case, when you joined, your designation was something else, but after some years they promoted you, so your designation changed. That's why you are getting multiple rows here. Okay, this is a likely scenario in real life also where we could get multiple rows. Okay, multiple rows for the same employee ID. Okay,
okay, sir.
yeah. So these are the joins that you are going to use as part of your merging. That is why I taught you this. Now when you talk about merge, merge also has the same set of options that you had earlier: merge queries and merge queries as new. Okay, so let me load the data first. So from here, let me select recent sources, and from recent sources I'll select append underscore merge. And from here, I'll select two tables. One is EMP, the other is designation details. It is the same that we have seen earlier, okay, in the sheet. So this is my EMP table. This is my designation details table. I click on OK. Yeah, so you can see this is my EMP table, and this has EMP underscore ID, name and age. Second is my designation underscore details table. This has EMP ID and designation. Now let's say if I want to combine these two tables or merge these two tables, then in that case, the first condition is I should have common column and the data type should be same. So here it is 1, 2, 3. Here also it is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this seems to be working. What I will do is now is I will merge these two tables. So in case of merge also, I have two options. One is merge queries, the other is merge queries as new. So when you do merge queries, the data is combined or merged, or the tables are merged in the existing table. And if you do merge queries as new, then a new table is created. And in that table, okay, all the output would be stored. Okay, so let's see the first option, which is called as merge queries. Remember this, guys, that what we are trying to do is we are trying to combine two tables. So always the output is going to be a table. Okay, so in this case, I select EMP, I select designation. Now here the join comes into the picture. So from here you can select left outer, right outer, full, inner. Then you have left anti and right anti. So what is this left anti and right anti? They are not joins. Basically, they are just the part or the extraction part. So let's say if I only want to get this row 103 Nina 20 null, then in that case I will use the left anti. And if I want to get this row only, the non-matching row from the right, null 105 PM, then I can use the right anti. Okay, so this is not join, this is just an option that is given here. So in this case, I'll select inner as of now, because we know in case of inner, we will not get the matching values, and I can click on OK. So this OK is disabled. Reason being is, for joins to work, you have to select the columns which are common. So this is the common column, this is the common column, and I click on OK. So when I click on this, the tables are combined, and as you can see, the designation details table is present in your existing EMP table. Now, if you want to see the designation details columns like EMP ID and designation, you have to click on this expand button. Okay, this is called as expand column button. So when I click on this, I can see the expand option. I can see the column names, EMP ID designation, and I click on OK. So in this case, you can see the values. Okay. Now, if you want to change the joins when you are at it, you can change it. So just click on the previous step. So in the previous step, you did the merge queries. Click on the setting icon or edit icon. It will open the same window. From here, I can change the join. So I'll just change from inner to full and outer. I'll click on OK. And then I'll click on the last step. So this is your last step. So you can see EMP ID, name, age, designation details, EMP ID and designation. So in this case, this has all the combinations possible within these two tables. So if you carefully observe, there are matching values. At the same time, there are some non-matching values from the right hand side. And of course, there are some non-matching values from the left hand side also. So this is your in full outer join. Now same thing, I can do it in a new table also. So for doing it into a new table, click on here, select merge queries, select merge queries as new. Okay, from here you have EMP, select the designation underscore details. From here, select the common columns, select full outer and click on OK. You can see the output. So the output has this table. I'll click on expand. I'll click on OK. Okay. So this was the merge query option. Now, since I do not need this EMP and designation details table because they are storing the same output as merge one, I can do the same thing which I did it in append. I'll uncheck these boxes. So this tables will not be loaded, only merge one will be loaded. I click on file, I click on close and apply, and my tables are loaded. Okay, so now you can see the merge one table is loaded. So this is your merge one table. You can see the data is loaded. Now let's say if I add anything into this sheet, will it reflect it? Let's see. I save it. Now all I have to do here is I have added one row for 124. So let me right click on this and click on refresh data. Now we should see the employee ID 124 here. Okay, can you see the 124 row? It is present here. Yes, it's present here. And if you go to transform data and check it there, you will not see the 124 row in the AAMP table or in the designation details table. Reason being is we have unchecked that box. That's why. So if you go to EMP, you don't see 124. If you see designation, you don't see 124. That's why in the output also you won't see 124. But if I refresh it, I click here, refresh preview, you will see 124 here now. And if I refresh it, you will see 124 here now. And because of this, you'll see the 124 in the final output also. Clear with this? This is how your merging works. Any questions? Anyone? Anyone? Any questions? Okay, so this was your merge query. So this is the column wise data merging, okay, not the row wise. When we talk about row wise merging, we are usually talking about the append queries option. So append queries is where we merge the data using the multiple tables, okay. And in case of merging, you use one common column, and based on that common column, you try to perform all the permutations and combinations. Okay, that's how the merging works. Okay, clear with this? Okay, one last operation that we will see, and then we will close this session, is the group by clause. So usually the group by clause is used to group your data. So usually when we want to perform certain aggregations, let's say if I give you 5 students and their respective marks in each of the subject, then what you will do is, you, in order to calculate the total by each student, what you will do is you'll take each student name, the unique names, and then you will add the respective marks, and then you will display it in the total, right? That's how everybody does it. For example, if I give you this sheet, this has name, so A, then B, and then C. Yeah, so S1, S2, S3, S4, these are the subjects. So we have 4 subjects and we have marks. So let's say if I want to calculate the marks obtained by each student, the total marks. So in this case, what I will do is I will write the student name. So how many students do I have it here? One is A, second is B, third is C. These are my students. And what I want to do is I want to get the total. So total for student A is 50, 80, 130, then 70, 200, and then 260. Similar to this, for student B, I have 60, then 50, 110, 190, and 260. And for C, 70, then 60, 130, 130 plus 150, and 180 and I think 260. Yeah. So how did I got this number? I actually filtered the data based on this student name. Then whatever rows I got, I added all these values. So basically, in order to calculate this total, I applied the sum operation on the marks column. Okay. So let's say if I want to do this similar operation in Power Query, can I do it? Yes, I can do it with the help of the group by clause. So I can apply group by clause directly. You can see this group by option. So let me load a data from here. So let me load our financial sample. Okay, so click on financials, click on OK. Sorry for that. Yeah, so this is my table. Now in this table, I want to group the data based on this country. I want to get the total sales for each and every country. So for that, what I can do is I can click on this group by. So when I click on this group by, I can specify based on what I want to group my data. So in this case, you wanted to group the data by the name. So in here, I want to group the data based on country. So I select country from here. The next thing is in this sheet, you wanted to create a new column called as total. Here also, I want to create a new column called as total sales. Okay. The next thing that you want to do is you want to specify the formula for that. So the formula here was sum to add all the marks. Here also I want to add all the sales values. So I'll select sum, and from here I select the sales. So where is that? Yeah, sales. Okay, so this is your group by operation, exactly similar to what we did here. Okay, in everyday life we use the group by operation, but we don't know whether we are using it or not. So when I click on this, in country column, I have 5 unique values. So one is Canada, the second is Mexico, third is United States, and then France and Germany. So I'll get the total sales with respect to each and every country. So when I click on OK, you can see the data is grouped. So in this case, you had close to 700 rows earlier, but with the help of grouping, now we have got 5 unique rows. So 5 unique rows are storing the country-wise data, country-wise total sales. Okay, clear with this? Any questions? And exactly similar to this, I'll delete this step. I can group the data based on multiple columns also. For example, let's say I want to group the data based on country, product, and discount band. For that, I have the advanced group by section. So we selected basic when we did this. Okay, but when I want to do the advanced, in case of advanced, you can group the data by multiple columns. And you can add the aggregations also. So from here, I select country, then I select product, then I select the discount band. These are the 3 columns that I've selected to group my data. Now in aggregation also you can add multiple aggregations. So let's say I want to calculate total sales and total profit. So formula for total sales is sum of sales column, and formula for total profit is total profit sum and the profit. And when I click on OK, it will calculate the total sales and total profit for country, product, and discount band. Now your country has 5 unique values, product has 6 unique values, and discount band has 4 unique values. So at max, the number of possible rows are 5 into 6 into 4, which is close to 120. So at max, you can have 120 rows in the output. So let me click on this OK here. So those 700 rows will now reduce to 115 rows. I think 5 rows are missing, but yeah, that is fine. Maybe we don't have data for that, but you can see here country wise, product wise, discount band wise, total sales and total profit. Any questions here in the group by clause? Anyone? Rahul, Atul, Dushant, Shreya, Anurag, Swapnil, Pooja?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is the last topic that we study for today. In tomorrow's session, we'll see JSON file handling, how to handle the JSON files and how to handle the XML files. Once we are done with that, then we'll close the Power Query and then we will start the visualization section. Okay, so I can click on this close and apply. I'll click, then this table is loaded, the group by table, and then we can use it. Yeah, the table is loaded and this has the group by data. Yeah, so this is how your group by works.